Monsieur Le Foll, est-ce que vous nous entendez?
Oui, je vous entends, Gabriel.
Super.
Oui, je voulais juste d'abord me féliciter de vous voir tous les deux avec Paul à la tête de cette conférence du Consortium à Glasgow. Me féliciter, je l'imagine, tous les membres de son consortium de la place et du rôle que l'initiative aujourd'hui peut jouer et joue dans le débat sur la lutte contre le réchauffement climatique et les grands enjeux liés à la neutralité carbone, avec l'absorption des sols agricoles comme un élément important d'une stratégie globale à l'échelle mondiale. Vous dire que depuis Paris, en passant par Marrakech, Cracovie, on a à mesurer ensemble le chemin qu'on a parcouru, et ça doit être pour tous et pour toutes un vrai sujet de satisfaction. L'étape qui s'ouvre devant nous aujourd'hui, c'est celle d'une concrétisation scientifique des itinéraires techniques qui devraient pouvoir s'appliquer globalement à chaque écosystème pour permettre d'assurer à la fois le niveau d'absorption que nous souhaitons pour les sols agricoles et en même temps les capacités pérennes de stockage du carbone dans ces sols. Je crois que ça va être l'enjeu du plan stratégique qui a déjà été discuté, et ça doit être vraiment l'enjeu maintenant des démarches diplomatiques, des démarches de contact qu'on doit prendre. Je me félicite aussi aujourd'hui, puisque j'ai eu un message, et je tiens à le remercier, le fait que le ministre français, Julien de Normandie, soit intervenu. Il m'a signifié cela par un message tout à l'heure. Je le remercie. Cette initiative doit être portée à l'échelle européenne, et la France doit rester un acteur de cette initiative. Je souhaite vraiment, et on a commencé le travail avec Pascal Canfin au niveau du Parlement européen aussi, qu'on puisse trouver un vrai relais pour pouvoir agir à l'échelle européenne. Et toutes ces raisons et tous ces actes qui ont été posés sont pour moi un vrai sujet d'encouragement. Et je voudrais à ce titre remercier bien sûr le secrétariat général, la vice-présidente et les deux vice-présidents, et puis l'ensemble des membres du consortium et surtout du conseil scientifique qui font un gros travail. Maintenant, je crois qu'on est arrivé à une étape, en quelque sorte, de maturité pour cette initiative. Et ça, c'est un point très important. Et on le voit d'ailleurs dans les débats partout. Aujourd'hui, on a bien compris et souvent est fait référence au rôle et à la place des sols agricoles. Ça, c'est déjà, j'allais dire, une victoire. Maintenant, il faut transformer cet essai pour qu'on puisse réaliser l'objectif que nous nous sommes tous collectivement fixés. Donc voilà, je voulais vraiment, j'ai pas pu aller à Glasgow, je sais que vous y êtes et que vous y faites un gros travail, et je voudrais vraiment vous remercier et saluer bien sûr Gabriel et Paul, tous les deux à la tête de cette tribune, pour qu'ils puissent maintenant dérouler l'ensemble du travail pour le consortium. Vous souhaitez à toutes et à tous vraiment un excellent travail, vous donner rendez-vous à la prochaine étape et faire en sorte qu'on puisse continuer d'avoir cet esprit extrêmement ambitieux et maintenant concret pour réussir le pari que nous avons fait il y a déjà maintenant plus de 5 ans, d'avoir avec cette initiative remis l'agriculture, la forêt au cœur du débat, pas simplement pour dire que c'était un problème, mais aussi pour être capable d'apporter tous ensemble une solution. Voilà ce que je voulais vous dire à tous les membres de chaque continent, à tous les scientifiques qui travaillent aujourd'hui, au secrétaire général et à Madame la vice-présidente, un grand bravo et plein d'encouragement et surtout une grande fierté de vous voir là à Glasgow et d'avoir réussi à, je ne vais pas dire imposer, mais à marquer le fait que cette initiative aujourd'hui est reconnue à l'échelle internationale dans ce grand débat pour la lutte contre le réchauffement climatique. Merci à toutes et à tous, et puis voilà, à bientôt. et il faut continuer et aller jusqu'au bout même.
Un grand merci, Monsieur le Président, cher Stéphane. C'est toujours un plaisir de vous entendre, de vous voir. Merci de vous être joint à nous aujourd'hui. Et encore une fois, c'est vraiment un honneur pour moi de pouvoir présider la rencontre d'aujourd'hui et de m'être jointe à l'initiative en tant que vice-présidente récemment. Bref, bien hâte de vous revoir une prochaine fois, bientôt, on l'espère. Alors voilà, merci encore d'avoir intervenu et à la prochaine. Au revoir.
Next time.
Merci.
Merci beaucoup. Je vais parler un petit peu en français, histoire de faire travailler nos deux interprètes dans les deux sens. Donc, depuis la dernière réunion du consortium en décembre dernier en ligne, puisque nous n'étions pas autorisés à faire des réunions en présentiel, nous avons reçu de nombreuses demandes de candidature pour être partenaires ou membres. Je reviendrai dessus tout à l'heure. Et une grande partie de ces nouveaux partenaires et membres ont été validés par le bureau lors de ces réunions. Je disais tout à l'heure que ce matin, il y avait eu 5 réunions qui avaient validé un certain nombre de partenaires. Je reviendrai dessus. Mais depuis la dernière réunion du bureau, nous avons reçu un certain nombre de nouvelles demandes. Si je ne me trompe pas, elles étaient au nombre de 11. Et nous avons notamment, parmi les nouvelles demandes, l'Écosse, qui, comme ça a été dit ce matin par la secrétaire d'État, a demandé à rejoindre l'initiative. Et donc, il est soumis à votre approbation le fait d'accueillir au sein du consortium et donc du forum aussi l'Écosse, mais aussi la ville de Burghausen, j'espère que je prononce bien, en Allemagne, qui va s'être rejoindre. On est content de voir qu'il puisse y avoir aussi des municipalités, des villes qui veulent rejoindre l'initiative et pas seulement des organisations de producteurs ou des pays en tant que tels. Dans les fondations privées, on a noté la candidature de Earthworm Foundation, qui est une fondation suisse, qui a demandé à rejoindre l'initiative. Parmi les groupements de producteurs agricoles, une organisation de producteurs de vin viticole dans le Ventoux en France qui a souhaité rejoindre l'initiative également en tant que membre. Une université dans les établissements d'enseignement et de recherche, une université qui se trouve, sauf erreur de ma part, en République tchèque. 2 ONG qui ont demandé à nous rejoindre, Kilabo et Jinko. Et enfin, 5 entreprises dans différents pays, Bulgarie, de mémoire, Espagne, mais aussi France, avec notamment l'entreprise Rémi Cointreau. Voilà, donc la première partie consistera donc pour le consortium à valider ces candidatures. La deuxième partie consiste à endosser, en quelque sorte, les candidatures qui ont été reçues et qui ont été validées par le bureau durant les 5 réunions qu'ils ont tenues au long de l'année. On y note une fondation privée, 2 organisations internationales, 7 organisations de producteurs agricoles, 3 institutions de recherche, d'enseignement et universités, 41 ONG tout au long de l'année que vous avez là. Ces documents ont été diffusés sur la plateforme de l'initiative et également sur le site dédié pour la journée. Donc effectivement, c'est un petit peu long. Et 41 entreprises qui ont demandé à nous rejoindre depuis le début de l'année, dont certains, comme Amarenco, ont eu l'occasion de prendre la parole aujourd'hui durant le forum dans la première partie. Voilà, donc il est proposé au consortium de valider les candidatures qui se présentent directement depuis le dernier bureau, donc les 11 candidatures que je vous ai présentées tout à l'heure, et l'ensemble est d'endosser l'ensemble des décisions d'approbation qui ont été prises par le bureau durant ces 5 réunions. Je précise, comme chaque fois, que les dossiers qui ont été présentés ont été vérifiés par le secrétariat exécutif quant à leur complétude, quant à leur signataire, leur signature, et aussi quant à l'objet de la demande de rejoindre l'initiative. Il faut que derrière, ça soit motivé par des activités propres et qui incluent la santé des sols ou le carbone organique dans les sols, aussi bien pour les entreprises d'ailleurs que pour les ONG ou les autres institutions. Très bien, donc en 2021, le bureau, qui est toujours composé des mêmes personnes, nous devrions avoir d'ailleurs des élections probablement dans le courant de l'année ou au début de l'année prochaine. Pour l'instant, j'ai privilégié le fait que le bureau prenne de plus en plus l'habitude de travailler ensemble. Bon, je trouve qu'il y a une très bonne dynamique au sein du bureau. Enfin, les membres du bureau eux-mêmes pourraient le dire. Et on essaie de faire le plus de réunions possible pour faire en sorte que cette dynamique continue. Mais on a une participation qui est en général assez bonne. Donc, je rappelle ici les membres du bureau pour les pays. Nous avons l'Allemagne qui est titulaire et l'Argentine qui est suppléant. Pour les organisations internationales, c'est la FAO et le GSP qui représentent les organisations internationales. Pour les institutions de recherche et d'enseignement, on a un siège partagé entre l'IRD et le laboratoire des radioisotopes de Madagascar. Et en tant que titulaire et en tant que suppléant, on a l'Institut sénégalais de recherche agricole. Pour les représentants des producteurs agricoles, le titulaire est le GCAN, donc la conservation de l'agriculture, enfin, l'agriculture de conservation, pardon, au niveau international. Et le suppléant est Demain la Terre, une institution française. Et enfin, pour les ONG et la société civile, on a 2 ONG. La titulaire est une ONG qui s'appelle Acalod, qui est une ONG malienne, et une ONG de République démocratique du Congo comme suppléant. Je tiens à préciser que c'est pas parce que le titulaire est présent aux réunions que le suppléant ne peut pas participer aux réunions. En général, on ouvre à l'ensemble des membres du bureau, ce qui est beaucoup plus simple, et ça permet à tout le monde de s'exprimer. On a un groupe qui vit et qui échange régulièrement. Donc, la deuxième diapositive, lorsqu'elle arrivera, était censée montrer le nombre de réunions. C'est pas bien grave, on peut avoir quelques petits soucis techniques. Ce matin, ça a été relativement tranquille, et donc j'avoue que j'étais moi-même surpris. C'est super, ça remarche. Donc, il y a eu 5 réunions du bureau cette année, en mars, avril, juin, septembre et octobre. 95 nouveaux partenaires donc, ont été validés par le bureau. Non, on va peut-être attendre que j'ai fini la première page pour passer à la deuxième. Voilà. Et parmi ces 95 partenaires, il y en avait 36 qui étaient des membres. Le bureau a participé aussi activement à l'organisation de la foire virtuelle de l'initiative durant la semaine verte de l'Union européenne et a pu participer, pour certains de ses membres, au meeting de la communauté de pratique que nous avons développé au début à l'instigation aussi de la GIZ. Et puis, bon, finalement, ça s'est avéré être un groupe beaucoup plus large que la simple GIZ. Et donc, on l'a endossé au terme du 4 pour 1000 sur le nexus sol-climat. C'est un groupe qui est réservé, entre guillemets, à tous les praticiens qui travaillent sur le terrain, sur lesquels on aborde lors de réunions des sujets particuliers, comme par exemple, la dernière fois, c'était sur les MRV, et qui permet d'avoir un échange plus approfondi réellement au niveau pratique de terrain. Chaque membre du bureau a aussi une tâche, outre représenter son collège, c'est d'animer le collège le plus possible. Ça a été fait un peu à travers les task force dont Marc a parlé ce matin pour la mise en œuvre pour l'élaboration du plan de mise en œuvre de l'initiative. Et chacun des bureaux de 2021 ont eu à leur ordre du jour le point de la situation sur l'étude Delphi, où on en était de ce fameux plan de mise en œuvre, de façon à ce qu'ils puissent suivre, poser des questions en temps réel et voir comment les choses avançaient. Enfin, c'est eux qui ont aussi, le bureau à participer, à préparer la journée qui est la nôtre. Bon, je l'ai dit ce matin, le bureau a participé à la fusion des deux déclarations d'intention pour faire un document plus simple pour adhérer à l'initiative. Ça, c'est clair. Il a participé aussi à la sélection des candidats pour l'élection, donc à la vice-présidence, et à travailler à la préparation de l'agenda pour cette journée. Donc voilà, Tout ça pour dire que le bureau n'est pas une entité qui ne travaille pas, elle travaille, et c'est extrêmement important parce que ça permet, entre deux réunions du consortium, d'avoir des décisions, d'avoir des orientations avec l'ensemble des collèges qui sont impliqués. Je vous rappelle que le collège des entreprises ne participe pas au bureau parce que les entreprises ne sont pas membres, elles sont simplement partenaires au forum. Voilà, Madame la Présidente, excusez-moi d'avoir été si long.
Pas de problème. Merci, Paul. Thank you very much, Paul. So were there any questions about the Bureau activity report? Any questions from the audience? No? Shall we, is everyone in favor of approving the report as is? Yes, we will take this as a positive answer.
The recommendations of the STC, the first recommendation was with regards to the definition of the missions of the 4 per mil initiative, because the STC members noticed that we are asked a lot of times, what is 4 per mil? So what is the initiative doing? What is it about? So we don't know. Really what to answer, especially because really the landscape changed a lot and the initiative made a lot of progress. And therefore we suggest that the missions of the 4 per mil initiative and the definition of what the initiative is should be revised. And for this, it could be good maybe to establish a task force involving all the members of the colleges. Maybe the Bureau could also help with this revision of the definition of the 4 per mil initiative in order to give some information that we could communicate easier to the general public and the stakeholders. Moreover, we think that we would like to recommend to the consortium that it's important to raise awareness, to continue to raise awareness in all parts of the society about the importance of soil health and carbon sequestration for agricultural production and international trade of soil-based products. So because we have a lot of products that come from soil and which people are not aware of, so food, fiber, timber, pure water and energy. And also the need to store carbon in order to enhance the resilience of the production systems. So this awareness raising is very important, should be done by the members of the consortium. And we think it's important to reinforce regional 4 per mil actions and networks, because it's really on the regional level where things can be done. We also think it's important that the consortium supports countries wishing to enhance transparency through more specificity around soil carbon in their NDCs and lower cost MRV strategies. And last but not least, the consortium should support the Secretariat to facilitate funding for continuous plans and activities that the 4 per mil initiative has. Thank you.
Comme il a été rappelé ce matin, l'initiative s'est dotée l'année dernière d'un plan stratégique à 2050 qui nous a permis de développer la vision de l'initiative, les missions, les principes généraux, l'ambition et un ensemble de buts, comme ça a été rappelé ce matin par Marc, mais je le rappelle à chaque fois parce que c'est vrai que c'est important et on est fiers de ce document. 6 buts ont été proposés dans le cadre de ce plan stratégique et ces 6 buts sont divisés en 3 à 6 objectifs, chacun étant donc doté d'une description, d'une baseline, c'est-à-dire d'un point de départ en 2020, d'un objectif, d'une cible 2030 et d'une cible en 2050. Ça, c'était le point de départ du travail qui a été présenté par Marc ce matin sur l'étude Delphi, c'est-à-dire, je remets les étapes ici, les différents rounds qu'il a expliqués ce matin et la façon dont on répondait de façon consensuelle, j'arrive plus à avancer, de façon consensuelle aux 5 questions qui sont mentionnées sur la droite, c'est-à-dire quel problème est concerné par l'objectif qui est défini dans le plan stratégique, quelles en sont les causes, quels sont les facteurs de succès critiques qui permettent d'atteindre cet objectif et d'atteindre les cibles, quelles sont les barrières à la mise en œuvre d'actions qui permettraient d'y concourir, et quelles sont donc ces activités dans lesquelles il faut investir pour réussir à atteindre cet objectif. Donc, les 3 étapes vous ont été présentées en détail ce matin. Marc est revenu sur l'étude Delphi, je ne vais peut-être pas m'appesantir dessus. Tout ça pour arriver à un document qui est le Draft Implementation Plan aujourd'hui, à l'heure actuelle, et qui deviendra, comme l'a expliqué Marc, à échéance relativement courte, le plan de mise en œuvre dans le futur. J'essaie de reprendre la main si je peux. C'est bon. Donc, suite à l'étude Delphi, comme ça là vous a été dit ce matin, on s'est retrouvé avec un grand nombre de réponses aux questions qui ont été posées, et notamment pour chaque objectif, une liste possible d'activités à déployer, ainsi que, pour certaines, des commentaires sur la façon dont les objectifs avaient été rédigés, et comme le disait Marc, peut-être essayer de résoudre peut-être certaines incompréhensions ou l'utilisation de termes qui n'étaient pas tout à fait appropriés, qui avaient besoin d'être modifiés. De façon à simplifier les choses par rapport à l'ensemble du document, vous avez vu, Marc vous a montré ce matin qu'il y a énormément de ressources qui sont en ligne sur la plateforme collaborative. Nous avons regroupé dans 2 documents, nous avons fait 2 versions de ce document afin d'en faciliter la lecture. Une première version qui est la version courte en quelque sorte, qui représente déjà plus d'une cinquantaine de pages, dans lequel vous avez pour chaque objectif la version qui a été adoptée dans le plan stratégique, des remarques qui sont issues de l'étude Delphi sur la façon dont l'objectif a été rédigé, et puis une liste d'objectifs, donc ceci renouvelé pour les 24, une liste d'activités, excusez-moi, je me suis trompé de mot, liste d'activités proposées, et donc on retrouve pour l'ensemble de ces 24 objectifs, toutes ces rubriques, dans le document qui porte la version short, c'est-à-dire la version courte, en quelque sorte. Marc vous a présenté ce matin, finalement, l'étude complète, et là, c'est la version longue qui fait 120 pages, dans lequel vous allez retrouver pour les 24 objectifs tout le travail qui est issu de l'étude Delphi, sur les remarques, bien sûr, sur les objectifs, mais aussi des propositions de rédaction alternatives pour l'objectif, des propositions alternatives de cibles, toujours les activités, et puis toutes les réponses aux questions sur les problèmes, les causes, les facteurs de succès critiques et les barrières. Il nous a paru important de vous mettre ces 2 versions pour que vous ayez conscience de l'ampleur du travail. On a tout regroupé dans un document. Bon, c'est sûr que vous pouvez aller aussi le voir sur la plateforme collaborative, objectif par objectif. C'est aussi interactif et c'est facile. Mais au moins, vous avez la possibilité d'avoir tout ça sous la main. Vous pouvez griffonner dessus, vous pouvez faire vos commentaires, vous pourrez vous exprimer. Et l'idée, c'est de rentrer dans une phase aussi d'échange et de priorisation, comme l'a dit tout à l'heure Marc ce matin plus exactement. Donc, les prochaines étapes. En fait, les prochaines étapes, on va travailler comme on l'a fait jusqu'à présent, c'est-à-dire sur la base de volontariat, c'est-à-dire qu'on n'oblige personne à travailler, mais bien évidemment, plus vous serez nombreux, plus le travail aura de l'importance et une base solide. C'est comme ça que, comme vous l'a dit Marc ce matin, plus de 4500 réponses à l'étude Delphi, ça donne du poids et de l'assise, sachant qu'on avait tous les types, toutes les catégories de partenaires qui ont participé à ce travail, ce qui veut dire qu'on avait des entreprises, on avait aussi des organisations de producteurs, on avait des organisations scientifiques, on avait des pays, on avait des organisations internationales, ce qui donne une base solide à cet échange, et c'est pas seulement quelque chose qui est né peut-être d'un cerveau comme le mien, qui parfois peut-être un peu dérangé, surtout à la fin du repas. Donc, j'insiste sur le fait qu'on va poursuivre ce travail sur la base de volontaires parmi les partenaires et les membres, pour notamment, parmi les activités qui auront été listées, sélectionner celles qui paraissent les plus significatives et aussi faire en sorte qu'on puisse les classer, les regrouper thématiquement, de façon à peut-être avoir une légère différence d'architecture dans le plan de mise en œuvre de l'initiative, tel que dans sa version finale, par rapport au draft que vous avez là, sous les yeux ou sous la main, si vous l'avez dans votre ordinateur ou vous l'avez imprimé. Donc, question de priorisation, question de faire le tri en quelque sorte, parce qu'il y a beaucoup de propositions qui ont été faites, et puis finalement, comme il y a des objectifs qui sont connexes, on va se retrouver avec des activités qui vont être connexes, on ne va pas les renouveler pour chaque objectif, on va les regrouper par thème, par thématique, et on fera un document qui sera beaucoup plus synthétique que le document que vous avez, qui est un document intermédiaire. En fait, ce qu'on vous propose aujourd'hui, ce sur quoi je voulais surtout insister, c'est de valider le résultat de l'étude Delphi et aussi de valider la méthode. On n'est pas en capacité aujourd'hui de valider la version définitive du plan d'action, mais c'est une étape, quasiment la plus importante, qui va donner lieu dans les mois qui viennent à un travail complémentaire qui aboutira à un travail final qui, de toute façon, sera soumis de nouveau pour approbation au consortium. Il n'est pas question d'esquiver cette approbation par le consortium. On voulait aussi, au sein du secrétariat, vous expliquer le fait que, et je pense que vous l'avez compris, on a affaire ici, aussi bien le plan stratégique que le plan de mise en œuvre, à des documents qu'on peut qualifier de vivants, comme les sols qu'on espère avoir le plus vivants possible. Et ces documents vont avoir vocation à évoluer au fil du temps, à être régulièrement révisés pour être adaptés, notamment à la lumière des résultats qui auront pu être étonnus. Et par rapport à la question qui avait été posée, fort légitime ce matin, de dire mais on ne part pas de rien, il y a beaucoup d'acteurs qui sont déjà actifs sur le terrain, et bien faire en sorte de tenir compte des réalisations au fur et à mesure, y compris à commencer par les réalisations qui sont celles qui sont actuellement mises en œuvre. Donc voilà, il est proposé deux choses au consortium en termes d'approbation, en quelque sorte, de ce plan de mise en œuvre. Premièrement, de valider le travail, bon, et je pense que vous comprendrez, compte tenu de l'énorme travail de compilation que ça représente, qu'on ne va pas discuter aujourd'hui point par point, c'est la virgule, les termes qui sont dedans, ça représente beaucoup de matière grise, si j'ose dire, si j'ose m'exprimer ainsi, qui sont dedans. Donc, valider les résultats de cette étude Delphi. Et deuxièmement, et on peut en discuter bien sûr, valider la méthodologie que je vous ai présentée pour les étapes d'après et faire en sorte d'arriver très prochainement, probablement en cours d'année prochaine, sans avoir besoin d'attendre de prochaines réunions du consortium, à un document de stratégie qui soit, de mise en œuvre, pardon, qui soit final et qui permettra de distinguer, comme on vous l'a expliqué ce matin, les activités qui seront financées par le budget de l'initiative à travers donc les core facilities et celles qui feront l'objet de groupements, de réunions, d'alliances, de coalitions. On peut utiliser tout ce qu'on veut comme mot, en quelque sorte, pour dire, voilà, les partenaires vont pouvoir se regrouper entre eux, y compris des gens qui ne sont pas dans l'initiative. Hein. On fait absolument pas d'entrisme et de racisme vis-à-vis de tous ceux qui ne sont pas dans l'initiative. Très bonne raison de ne pas y être, il n'y a pas de souci là-dessus. Et par contre, joindre nos forces pour faire en sorte de mettre des moyens pour mettre en œuvre les Global Facilities qui dépassent largement la possibilité budgétaire que connaît l'initiative et qu'elle ne connaîtra jamais. D'ailleurs, elle n'a pas vocation à devenir une entité qui va gérer des millions, pas du tout. Mais par contre, on est là pour appuyer le montage de ces coalitions et de ces alliances pour faire en sorte que les choses avancent. Et il y en a déjà qui sont déjà en œuvre. On va en prendre acte, on va les inclure dans l'ensemble et on va les relier aux objectifs. Il n'est pas question de partir de scratch. Il y a énormément de choses qui sont faites. Et il faut s'adapter à ce contexte qui est en perpétuelle évolution. Voilà, Madame la Présidente, je n'ai pas été très long par rapport au temps qu'on avait prévu, mais je pense que c'est le moment d'ouvrir la discussion et de pouvoir discuter de ça avec les membres du consortium.
Oui, exactement. Thank you, Paul. So yes, as Paul mentioned, let's open up for discussion. We'd love to have any questions or comments you might have on this implementation plan. We realize it's a large body of work, really the fruit of long efforts from the 4,000 and from input from the community as well. So do you have any questions or comments about this? Oui, so we'll just need the microphone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm Kakanga John, coming from Uganda, and I work with grassroots communities. Thank you for that comprehensive document. It was not easy to come up with that. It was really a very big work. But my concern, or where I want to just to get some clarification, three points. One, I would like to know how we people working directly with grassroots communities, and we have already, we are starting. We are doing the work, as someone said. I think during the morning that many organizations have been trying to do some work, but they need we need to see how we can enhance them, how can we promote them. Now, that's why I want to know, especially in organizations working at the grassroots, and especially in the developing countries, because I'm also coming from the developing countries. For example, like my organization has been so busy in ecosystem restoration, and we need that work to be scaled up. And then apart from that, we think, that's what I am proposing, that we need to get some good practices in different countries, in different regions, which have been doing some work and which need some, we promote it, so that when we are asked that as 4 per thousand initiative, what can we physically see? Because so many things we are doing are there, but they are in papers, they are in books, policies, and so forth. That's why so many people are saying that things are not working, yet they are working. That is one. Two, we were also introduced to the twin regions. And so I am seeking for clarity how it will be managed. Is it going to be managed by under 4 per thousand initiative, or it will be something independent? And then apart from that, how are we going to get sisters? Because it is it is to do with sisters and brothers, especially as people like us. Now, for me, I'm coming from Uganda, and I would like to get a sister, brother from France, from Germany. How are we going to be supported? How are we going to be assisted? That's what I wanted, some clarification during our plan of implementation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your question. Paul, would you like to answer, please? Thank you.
So thank you very much for your question. The first point I would say is concerning the good work that farmers are doing in the field, and that they would like to share their practices with the others, and also share the success, but share also the failure, because it's important to learn from the other without being able to do the same mistakes. And among the strategic plan, there are few objectives that are devoted to the exchange of good practices between farmers, but not only, between people that could be far away, but are working in the same categories of agroecological condition. And try to, as I used to say, not reinvent the wheel if the wheel were already invented next door, and take the opportunity to learn from lessons from the other. So we try to promote the idea to build a huge database of good practices, but not only with paper, as you said, but also maybe movies, but with some exchange between farmers, just to show the people how they are working in their place, and if maybe it could work where the other are. So promote exchanges of information, exchange of knowledge, and not only most of the time what's happened top down, but also bottom up and bottom, if I may say that, because you are the closer to the ground, to the soil, to the Mother Earth, and exchange between you and make this possible. So that's part of the implementation plan. And I agree that so far it's just blah, 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 it's word, but we hope that it will become really a reality soon, because I know that we all know that you really deserve it and need it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Paul. And thank you again for these great questions. I believe we had a second question here from Mr. in the audience. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll introduce myself. My name is Jon Magnar Haugen. That's John for simple. I work in the Norwegian Ministry of Agriculture and Food. We joined the 4% 1.5 years ago. And I must first apologize that I've not been able to prepare and to read the material on the implementation plan. But what is kind of, we are very much encouraged and also impressed by the work done and the kind of thinking that has been invested in that material. And as a ministry, we would maybe be supposed to have the apparatus to put these in motion, but still, when resources are even at our level, sometimes the resources are scarce, and yeah, we could not fulfill the entire wish list, but still, in our situation, we want to work on a number of different levels and be pivotal in a number of different levels, from the farm level, which my colleague here was addressing, and up to the international level with the facilities and the agreements that we are dealing with. So I came from I'm also the agricultural negotiator under the UNFCCC, under the Coronivia agenda item, where we want to make use of the lessons learned and to build on the experience. So right now, my question would be, how, since I have not been able to prepare much and to digest the entire implementation plan, how would the thinking that has been invested in the implementation plan be able for me to build on and to make use of this pivotal situation that we're in as in negotiations, in working with global facilities? How would the implementation plan work for this purpose?
Thank you very much for your question, John, for lack of a better capacity to pronunciate your name. Thank you. Paul, would you like to answer?
Well, the answer is not easy, because the question is not easy. Well, it's true, and we all agree on the fact that this plan could be, I would say, even though it's not exhaustive, we know that it's not exhaustive, it's quite, hopefully, the most complete as possible, covering various categories of objective and various categories of action. And we do not expect from all our partners and members to implement each single part of this plan. From the very early stage of this work on the strategic plan, we propose all our partners to pick up to 5 main objectives that they consider the most important for them according to their own activities or according to their own objectives. And I think you can do the same with this implementation plan and focus maybe at the level of Norway on some aspect that is most important for you and that you are the most competent. If you recall this morning, Mark said that in the future of this, and I did not develop that but because he already said that this morning, we will ask all our partners and even the friends of the 4% initiative to give us their competencies, provide more information about their own competencies and what they are doing already. And from that point, we will be able to maybe help them to find some complement competencies that could work with them, help them finding people that could join them in an alliance, or simply register the fact that they would like to act concerning some of the objective and some of the activities. So this is the first part of the answer of your question. The second part, if I understand well, is how can we make the link between this implementation plan and the negotiation? We try at the level of the 4 per mil to have some inputs also in Coronivia. The Scientific and Technical Committee provides some documents, not this year, but the year before, when the subject around soil were more in the middle of the discussion. And hopefully we contribute to increase the awareness about soil health and carbon sequestration. I think it's important also that people like you being part of a discussion over here today, because it helps you understand how outside the UNFCCC, how can the work can be organized involving various categories of stakeholders to fulfill some of the objectives. If we take the objective number A1 in our implementation plan and strategy, the main idea was how can we push all the country parties to the UNFCCC to include it in their NDCs, soil health and soil carbon sequestration, further to agriculture and forestry. And it was interesting to notice that from the time we start working on that, not only us, but there were many other actors doing in the same direction. The number of countries that have such a question in their NDCs included are increasing. I don't say it's 200%. Fortunately, we start from very little number, very small number. Now we are not at a very high number, but it starts to be significant. Roughly, from my memory, I think it's roughly a little bit less than 40 at the moment, which is not too bad on the total of 200. But one of our targets is that at the end of 230, all the country included the soil health and soil carbon sequestration in the NDC. I know that there are many questions behind the problem of the permanency, the problem of the additionality and the MRV behind that and so on. We all know that. But it could be in there. And that is why we need to have a relation between people like you, negotiator, there are some other one in the room or online, and what we are doing in our way, in, I would say, the true world, if I may say. And we need you, and we need also your contribution. And thank you very much for this question. I hope I answer your question. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. I see we have another question from Dr. Susanna, please.
Thank you. Yes, here again, I think we can all be happy to see this development in the way the objectives are phrased and the many activities. However, as you said, Paul, you have a short version which is already 50 pages, and when you go through, it's really highly complex. So I think we have a clear challenge, and I think you were addressing this on how can we prioritize. That's very clear. And I would also say, how can we define low-hanging fruits, things that we can really show as major contributions of the 4 per thousand. And I would really encourage us to think about this. I have one idea, I must say, which is that we now see countries being strongly engaged in their own implementation plans. I think it was clear from the high-level segment this morning. And I would suggest that we talk to all member countries to try to define how we could have an information like a spreadsheet on what they are really doing in terms of funding, in terms of policies, in terms of beneficiaries, of agricultural practices, of monitoring systems, and so on. Having this, if we can synthesize at this level what are 4 per thousand members doing, I know this is only countries, but it's a very good starter. We could really show that it's very big, it's very ambitious, and possibly, I was discussing this at lunchtime, with help of STC, with help of others, we could start quantifying at least the potential of what countries are doing. For instance, in France, we really know, I think, what is the potential of 4 per thousand for our agricultural soils. We've been studying it. And we can say that so much is now targeted with public policies and so on. So I think if we go in that direction, I don't know exactly how long it can take, but I would say within 2 years, you could be standing here and telling us 4 per thousand is involving in our member countries a range of so many farmers to so many farmers. There is uncertainty for sure, and is involving so many million tons that potentially could be sequestered. So I think that policy-wise, if we can get there, it will be highly successful for communication and for building up the initiative. Thank you.
Thank you for this interesting proposal. Paul, could you please answer?
Yes. Well, to be modest, I think it's important. What Jean-François said is very, very important. And in our strategic plan, the F3 objective, which is 4 per mil initiative dashboard, is exactly the purpose of what you said. But we need to start by the starting point. And you're right, if we can start opening an Excel spreadsheet, just having a little bit of information about what's going on, I would appreciate building on that you can transmit to us the list of each items that you consider that would be very interesting to follow at the level of the country first, but not only. And we will be able to organize a kind of general survey among the country and start collecting the figure, because that's true. That's really what I dream of also. Well, not all the night, I can confess. It's having a global map of the world with all the flashing light coming from the country involved in the 4 per mil, telling, okay, and a counter telling, okay, so many hectares are concerned by conservation agriculture, by agroecological practices and so on, and see that this is increasing every day, like not the reverse, like the countdown, just increasing all the day. And that will be encouraging, because even the policymaker, they can go there and say, okay, this country is doing so, and what are we doing ourselves? No, we are not there. We are not part of the 4 per thousand. Well, it's not good. So we have to do it. So yes, thank you very much, Jean-François. If you can just provide the first list, we will circulate to complete it if needed by the other member of the consortium, and then we will start building this spreadsheet. Hopefully, before 2 years, we'll be able to do so.
Thank you, Paul. We will do with also STC. Yeah?
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. So I believe this was all the time we had on the implementation plan. So unless there are any objections or any burning questions about this, I would suggest that we move to approve the implementation plan. Any objections or burning questions from anyone? Are we moderating also the questions on Zoom?
Yes, I do not see any. Wait, there is one maybe.
Is it regarding the implementation?
That was regarding the tribune.
Okay.
Initially it was, I can answer like that, sure. Because the people said it was initially before midnight today. Well, if I can get the information before midnight, it will be good. If not, tomorrow will be good also, because we don't know yet when we will be able to publish this tribune. So please keep going with answers, and that will be very good.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you for answering this question. Wonderful. So if there are no further objections or burning questions, we will consider the implementation plan approved.
So I will talk today about the 4 per mil 2022 roadmap. But before that, I wanted just to zoom on the 4 per mil operational framework that was already presented this morning, just to remind you that on this framework, you'll see that we would like in the coming months to initiate partnerships and alliances, formed by partners, members, or supportive friends of the 4 per mil initiative, or also other organizations, as said Paul, to create, to support core facilities and to support global facilities, knowing that core facilities will be led by the Executive Secretariat through partnerships, and the global facilities being led by alliances facilitated by the Executive Secretariat. Next, please. Okay, so the roadmap. So orientations and activity for 2022. So what I wanted to say today is that the core facilities are really the skeleton of the 4 per mil yearly roadmap. So the 2022 roadmap has been divided into 6 major chapters relating to the 6 core facilities. So we ran through all of them. The first one being strategy, the second governance and administration, the third being advocacy and awareness, then networking and collaboration, then the initiation of partnership and alliances, and then through the 3 cross-cutting actions of our strategic plan. Next, please. So to recap regarding strategy, as we have seen since the morning, the strategic plan was adopted in June 2020. The implementation plan was just voted now. The operational framework as well, and we will start as early 2022, the inception of coalitions, partnership and alliance. So next, please. So regarding the core facility 2, governance and administration. So I just wanted to say that the bureau that was created in 2019 will pursue in 2022 with the support of all the college representatives, the important task of developing the vision and the 4 per mil implementation plan while continuing to moderate the college. For the STC, I won't spend too many time on it because Cornelia already spoke. So next slide, please. So the STC will continue the research orientation and scientific cooperation. So precise inventory of research actions. Also trying to have a global vision of who does what and where to establish a good mapping of the partnerships, as just said. The mapping of hotspots where carbon sequestration potential is the highest. Next, please. The work on project evaluation. As you know, since 3 years now, we have been doing an international call for projects, and we'll continue that. We should continue that next year. We'll go on with specification for development of an existing tool to facilitate the self-assessment of project holders. And also, the STC will continue to work with voluntary carbon markets actors to mainstream the inclusion of soil carbon in existing project evaluation. Next, please. Well, and again, next. So advocacy and awareness. So the core facility 3. So it is mainly all the strategy, the communication strategy that was implemented since the birth of the initiative. So promotion of the 4 per mil initiative, the communication strategy with always the support of what we are doing to encourage commitments and actions, and also to develop links between all our members and partners. Next, please. The idea being to develop and animate a regional correspondence group. It's very important that on a geographical point of view, we have relays and that people talk on a local level. Another tool, a very important tool, is the new website that will be introduced very soon in the coming days and weeks. The old website has done a very great job during 5 or 6 years, and now it was really time to change it. So you will see it in the coming days. The idea is also to pursue all the work done on the social networks, on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and really being present, always being a relay of what is going on at the level of the initiative. Development of press relations, and a permanent strategic watch of different teams. Next, please. Another important thing is also the newsletter. The newsletter is an impressive tool that all our partners and members can use to talk to each other, to present what they are doing, present their vision, their mission, their projects. And it's a good way to inform our huge network and also to be read by all the friends and supportive people of the initiative. Another point about advocacy and awareness is the contribution to international debates on soil carbon sequestration. So participation in meetings, symposia, other conferences, and continuing all the work done in that field. And also emphasize, as we did this year, all the further connections with the UN agencies. I would like to remind you that we became a partner of the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration this year. So this is a big pleasure to talk and be part of all these dialogues and discussions. As an example, not only that one. The fourth core facility is networking and collaboration. So as Paul said, yes, I would also to remind you, we are not working from scratch. This is a different way of presenting things. It's a different way of sharing it, but it doesn't, it's the work that was started 3 years ago. We're pushing it further and further every year, as you know. So the collaborative platform has been an extraordinary tool since now 2 years, and we'll continue to work on it and to reinforce technically this platform, because we're numerous users now and many more are coming, so it's very important. And as Mark said this morning, he talked about the AU Fair, and this AU Fair was a very good event, a very good exercise for all of us, because by creating a booth, a stand on the collaborative platform, thanks COVID on this point, it allowed all our partners and members to have a kind of a virtual landing page where one another can find very good information. It created a very strong network between our members and partners, and yeah, many discussions have continued even after the fair. And now when you are entering the initiative, it's very important to have a page, a landing page, expressing to others what you are doing. So all new members and partners, we will ask them to do it, to share their information. Next, please. So Paul already told this morning, but we still have in the roadmap the willingness to establish a regional level within the initiative and to push further the communication and the animation of regional correspondence groups. Next, please. The fifth core facility, so we are almost done, is so-called partnership and alliances, all the topic of this day, of today. So what we will do further to the adoption of the implementation plan is to create partnerships. We have already, I wanted to mention that we have already, of course, many strategic partnerships. We have the French Ministry of Agriculture in this room, a representative, and they are already a strategic partnership. And I can speak also about IRD, about many people who has been always there for us. So on the top of existing partnership, we will seek in 2022 to identify contacts and develop relationships with organizations willing to join and support the core facilities. And the same for the alliances to support global facilities. And I will now move to the last page, which is the core facility 6, which are the 3 cross-cutting actions. But so the first one being twin regions. So Mark will already present about this. The second very important thing is resource mobilization. So a strong and difficult work is conducted every year to get more funder engagement, to be really to identify, target, contact, and convince these people to join us, and then start to talk about the way they can support us and the way they can support projects. And we know that the implementation plan, especially for global facilities, will be a very good step further to convince funding bodies that it's very important to and very important supporters. Resource mobilization is also seeking funding for the executive secretary of the initiative, and it's a everyday subject. We continue to work on the potential of green finance and carbon markets. And as also Paul said this morning, we have the wish now to move concretely on the creation of a 4 per mil foundation that would be a great support for the global alliance, the global facilities, because as you know, when we collect money, it goes into a foundation, and the money collected by the foundation can only be devoted to projects. And this money is also the money given to the foundation cannot come back to the secretariat. It has to stay there to support these global facilities. And call for funding needs also to be addressed to general public and among friends of the initiative. And the website could be a good tool for this. And my last page will be on the 4 per mil dashboard, but Paul already talked right away about it, the dashboard, to show and how we could express instantly where we stand on projects in the countries and everything. So this is the end of my presentation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Beatrice, for this great presentation. It's really nice to have an idea of the next steps for 2022. So were there any questions either from, people in the audience? Oh, sorry. Okay, I was wondering if you were pointing to another person. No, you were asking for the microphone. Oh, thanks, Beatrice, for coming back. Great.
Yes, thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
For the presentation, you mentioned this carbon market, carbon credit markets, that you're going to work with that next year. As we have this project I mentioned today, we are piloting this carbon farming markets. And that is not for sort of EU, it's a live project, carbon farming schemes project. So I think we could there collaborate. We were thinking of having some sort of webinar or some event next year. So maybe if we do it in the EU level to see it in the global level, or do something on that topic together.
This is a great idea. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Wonderful really idea. Thank you, Laura. Great. Were there any other questions? Yes, Barbara?
Hi, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Barbara. I'm from Zambia. I work with small-scale women farmers. I think a large part of, first of all, thank you so much for the 4 per 1,000. To be honest, without you guys as a consortium and without us being members, I almost feel like we are lost in Africa. Like there is no platform for us. We're almost forgotten in the conversation. And I guess that's where my question comes to. There's a lot of talk, especially in terms of carbon markets, carbon credit markets, carbon farming. I think we feel left out of the conversation. I feel when people say Africa is the dark continent, it is dark because we're not in the light with a lot of, there is no information for us. I think a lot of what's happening with the COP conferences, there's a gap between the conversation and what's happening on the ground. And in as much as we want to say, yes, there's information on the ground, there's projects on the ground, it doesn't seem to culminate to one thing and one movement going forward. So in terms of the carbon markets, what is the plan in the future for giving more information to African countries who, even if Africa doesn't play a big part in the industrial or the big climate issue, we are part of the solution. moving forward. So how do we bring Africa back onto the table? How do we disseminate information a lot more about carbon markets, carbon credit, carbon farming? I think this should be on an agenda, on a huge scale, should be part of the agenda moving forward. So how do we disseminate more information to African countries? Because in as much as we're ignoring the conversation now about Africa, we are going to be a huge part of the solution for the future. Thank you.
Great question, Barbara. Thank you. Beatrice, would you like to respond?
Yes, I was. I wanted to say thank you for what you said. That Africa has to be part of the dialogue, and it's very, very important. Regarding our level at the executive secretariat, what I could say is that if we find information, for sure we will share it with you. For sure, it will be part. We can create a group to talk about it, to share information, and it's a very good idea. But I also heard what you said, which is much more global, and that Africa should be part of these dialogues about these carbon markets, and it's not yet the case.
Thank you,
Beatrice. As much
Beatrice.
as you can.
Thank you. Paul, would you like to add anything to this?
Yes, thank you very much, Barbara, for the what's not really a question, but your statement, I would say. As you know, we organize regularly regional meeting. We had a regional meeting in South Africa in 2018, in October. And I think it will be time to organize a new regional meeting in Africa in or 2022 or 2023, but maybe next year, we never know. We are in discussion with our member of Morocco to may organize a meeting over there. We don't know yet if it will be Mediterranean or if it will be Africa, but there is also a project in Ivory Coast, if I'm not wrong, and that they would like to have to host at the end of the project also a regional meeting in Africa. So that would be a good opportunity to put as a major subject of this regional meeting, how can Africa be part of the carbon market? And then we can work, we can ask an enterprise to come and motivate them to say, okay, you are working in Europe, you are working in the US, why don't you work with Africa? What are you doing there? There may be some other enterprises that are working more in Africa, and try to share experience on this and build for the future. So I keep that in mind. Thank you for this. And definitely, I think it would be one of the main subjects that could be for a regional meeting in Africa.
Thank you. Hopefully this helps answer the question of how this will be addressed in the future. Thanks. So we have another question here, sir. And apologies, I hadn't understood your name before. If you can please state it again. Yes.
John.
It's John?
Another
Great.
John.
Yeah.
Another John.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm just raising two points. Maybe one is on twin regions. Immediately, because I have been contributing to the formulation of the twin regions. And I don't know whether I made a mistake, because I had started disseminating some information about it, and many people were appreciating, and they were eager to know how it works. That is information I'm just bringing. And then another, this is good, and I'm so happy to hear that we have negotiators. Also in Uganda, we have negotiators, but you know, negotiation, I've been not directly a negotiator, but sometimes I'm invited as an observer, but it is not something easy. But soil health must be made a topical issue, whereby the UN, as now they are considering energy, as they are considering water, as they are considering other sectors, we should, I think, okay, there is another letter which we are signing, but I think it is now time to see that it can be declared something so special that it is taken, because everything is depending on soil. Even this building without soil, it wouldn't be there. But having said so, the poor and the vulnerable who UN created, the SDGs, this UNFCCC, and so many conventions or declarations, they are targeting the poor and the vulnerable. Therefore, so in this August meeting, I'm just bringing a proposal. I know we are taking it serious, but we need to take it more serious so that it is taken by the UN direct, as it is water and energy and other sectors are taken. That's what I want, like a forest and so forth. Thank you so much.
That's absolutely true. Thank you, John. Yeah. Should really take soils more seriously. Paul, would you like to answer this? Or?
Well, not answering, because there will be some other opportunity to talk about twin regions again. So we will come back. I will let Mark answer to your question a bit later. Concerning the soil, we signed a declaration 2 years ago about declaring that we would appreciate that the UN level considers soil as a common goods and public goods, such as water, in order to be able to protect correctly soil all around the world. So, well, this was just a document, as you said, another one, but it starts paving the way to a clear and common recognition of this special status of soil. And it's true, you're right, it needs to be done as soon as possible. And we will try to contribute to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful. So, so this was it for the section on the roadmap. Thank you again, Beatrice. So are there any objections to the roadmap that was presented, or is everybody in favor of approving? Looks like everyone's in favor. Great, thank you. So we are approving the 2022 roadmap. And so now we will hear again from Paul about the financial and human resources, including the information about the Executive Secretariat and its composition, and we'll adopt the annual budget 2022. So we'll just wait for the other PowerPoint presentation around this.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you? Thank you. So, as I said this morning during the presentation of the activity report, our annual budget for this year was supposed to be 955 kilo euro, but in fact, we succeed to have a little bit less than half, in fact. And we spend this year, we will have spent at the end of the year something like 276,000 euro, to which we have to add what we call overheads. That's something we discover. It was not a very good surprise for us, but when we have signed the agreement with SIAT and Biodiversity at the beginning of this year, there were no such information in the agreement. So we are in a negotiation with SIAT to being able to recover part of this money, because as you can see, it's a significant part of the budget which is going in overheads, which is only administrative purpose staff, and we are already paying some fees on the side of that. So we are working on it to try to find a solution that could suit both parties without making a big hole in our budget every year. And because also we are working sometime with some very limited means, and I will come back to that later on. So the Executive Secretary is composed by mainly people that are seconded by countries. Like for me, I'm seconded by France. There are our two friends from Bonn that came over are funded by Germany, and Paloma, which is in charge of the scientific aspect of the initiative, is seconded by Spain. We have an assistant which is partly paid also by CIRAD on his budget, and a larger part of our offices and furniture are provided by before the CGR, who give us all the furniture, and now we are hosted by the Agropolis International, who accepted through the Occitanie region to provide the office free of charge of renting, which is not too bad. At least we have place to work. So it is anticipated that at the end of the year, the level of our expenditure will let us less than 139,000 euro available to be reported to the next year. Because as we said in French, I tried to manage the budget en bon père de famille. It means a good family father. That means that you need to keep a pier for the drought, how is it also in French? I don't know if it's translated in English, but you need to keep a little bit of money at the end of the year to be sure that you will be able to start the next one, because waiting for the money to arrive for the coming year. So I always like to keep a little bit of money to be able to sure that I will be able to continue my work. But I wanted to add also to that you have the various expenses that we had along the year. You can see that a large part of our expenses are consultant because we don't have the means to have some people that we are paid with our budget. Beatrice is the only person that are paid with our budget, and she is making more work that she is really paid for. So I appreciate that all the people, I should say, even the consultant, they are most of the time not counting their time, and sometimes they stop the counter because they know there is no more money in the cash. So they continue to work without being sure to be remunerated. And this situation cannot stand for long. And I prefer to stress that very clearly to all of you. A question was asked to me just during lunchtime to me, what was the cost of our meeting today? You are in a very nice and prestigious building. You have seen that there were nobody else, but it's funny because few people were interested to rent this place during the COP. Why not? I don't know. The whole day, including the translator, including the techniques, including the food, cost us roughly less than 6,000 pounds. That's what I said. We are working with bits and bytes of things, but because we have no other solution. Today, this morning, I should stress the fact that you assist to for the first time to a hybrid meeting with only 4 computers online on Zoom. That's the only techniques that we use this morning. And by chance, it was a miracle. Everything works perfectly. It was surprising even for me sometimes. But when we, with Oliver and Beatrice, we designed the whole things, we thought, okay, it may work. We take the risk because we have no choice. And it works. So I don't say we would like to have budget to spend 20 or 30,000 euro when we need only 5 or 6. No, I will always work like that. But sometime I would like to be able to employ Beatrice, for instance, full-time instead of 60%, to have a proper assistant that could help us to follow the new members and partners. This is the job that I am doing during my time to check if the file are completed and so on. So this is something that I could spend more time in thinking, working, networking for the initiative. But I'm spending a lot of time in administrative purpose. This is the same for Beatrice. This is the same for almost all of us. So I don't want to ask you to have tears and have pity for us, but just to understand the situation. And I can tell you, frankly, that we received recently the level of amount that the French ministry will allow us for next year. and I was really happy to see that they were sensitive to our argument to maintain a good level of contribution, but we need to have more contribution. And I was really close, I can tell you, because after all what was said this morning and all the good speeches and the good willingness around all of that, I can tell you that I was very close to say that we are stopping everything at the beginning of next year, because we do not have the means to work properly. So I'm very sorry to put a little bit of freeze over the meeting, but this is important that you must know that, because I'm really tired to being able, like Beatrice just said before, looking every day for what will be tomorrow, because I have no idea of the future. And if, as it is the wish, I mean, for me at least, that the initiative can be able to continue its work, we need to have more support. And I already thank France, Spain, Germany for all the support, ERD, and all the people that provide us some money and means to work. But today, we have not enough means because there are so huge demand and a so big expectation behind what we are doing. All what Mark have done on the implementation plan with us, that was just tremendous. And you cannot imagine the quantity of hours of work behind that. Well, let's be optimistic again. Sorry for that, but I think it was important to say that. So in the context of the roadmap that you just validated, we hope that we will be able to continue to have all these activities in the future. And so I would propose that, to be optimistic, maybe we will find the money to adopt a budget of roughly about the same than last year. The only difference with last year is that I tried to anticipate the overheads in order not to be surprised if the negotiations are not completely fruitful in the way I hope. So the budget I propose to you will be 970. They look a little bit like similar than the previous one, but if we have such a money, we will also rethink during the year how we can rebalance the budget between the core facilities that we define together with the implementation plan. This is important to be in line with what we adopted before, and I can tell you that we will do so. Mainly if you come with 1 or 2 million, that could help. Okay, so I just keep that slide telling that there's a good opportunity for partners to help us, giving some money and sending some financial and human resources. It's a good opportunity to join, and anyway, it will be appreciated. We're still looking for somebody that could be competent in as a secondment for the communication, because we have a very, very good consultant. But for instance, Julia from our team in Bonn and Beatrice are working on Twitter. They are the one who tweet. Beatrice and the consultant are also working on LinkedIn. I spend also a lot of time on LinkedIn. The consultant is working on Facebook also. So, and Oliver is working a lot to have all our video on YouTube. Well, once again, it's a little bit of bits and parts that we try to work with. Well, it works, but I think the team may be tired to continue to work in that condition. So again, I insist on that point. And I think that's it. I think it's, well, we cannot move. I'm blocked again, but that's okay. I think I finished that. Next year, maybe we'll hope to be able to have a foundation, even though that will not solve all our problem. But if we could have a foundation that could help financing some global facilities that are not financed by some others, that would be very good. Okay, thank you very much. I was already too long, and sorry for this a little bit distress signal that I sent to all. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. No, I think it's very important to be aware of the financial situation of the initiative. And yeah, congratulations on being able to accomplish all you have with a limited budget, and we certainly hope that the initiative will be able to achieve its budget for the next year. So were there any questions from any of you around the financials and human resources?
Any announcement about contribution?
Those are all welcome.
Yeah, they are welcome. I mean, we can, I mean. Okay, thank you, Jean-François. I think, Thibault, you can just announce what the Ministry of Agriculture is providing this year. I think it's a good opportunity.
Sure. Thanks for the microphone, Samuel.
I have a little bit of publicity about that.
We will have 2 contributions this year. Support with 150,000 euros, and another project with FAO for 100,000 euros.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you to the government of France. Some more questions? Yes, here at the back.
Contribution over there.
Thanks for the opportunity. My name is Andrew. I'm from Uganda. I'm a visual designer and was invited by John as an observer. I'm not part of the organization, but when it came to contribution, how would be really important to step in and come in to contribute in any one way to deal with visuals that can go online, be it social media or website. So that's my area of expertise. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Great. Appreciate it.
Si tu peux prendre le nom de monsieur, ça peut, pour être bien en contact.
Sure. Could you please repeat your name?
No, just okay. we noticed.
Okay.
We'll be in
touch. Note your name to be in touch after the event. Thank you. Were there any other questions or comments before we move to the next section? No, nothing else? All right. So if there's any other questions or objections, we will approve the budget 2022. Oh, there's a question in the chat? A comment online? Okay, great. Thank you. We'll read it.
Somebody asked if, do you think that with such a level of budget, the initiative is threatened to disappear? Yeah, definitely. I'm concerned, and this is a subject. It is a serious subject. I'm not laughing on that. Definitely, there is a risk if we cannot gather a minimum that allow us to work for working.
Thank you for asking the hard questions. This was a question from Aziz.
It's from Mapad.
Bouejda.
Yes, we have to apologize for this gentleman because this morning he was not able to present his presentation due to the fact that we had technical problem and he cannot connect. So thank you for the question. And yes, there will be another question. There is another question about Beatrice talk about auto-evaluation, self-evaluation. And the APAD Tunisia said that they would like norms and evaluation tools. There will be, that's among the budget that Mr. Nancy just mentioned, that could go in the collaboration with FAO. We are developing such a tools and contributing to develop because need to be modest. And hopefully these tools will be available for all. So yes, Mr. Budget, but we'll hopefully we'll be able to provide some tools in the coming months.
Great. Thank you so much for asking these questions. Wonderful. Okay. Well, so in that case, if there is nothing else on this, let us approve the annual budget 2022.
So I am Elisa Vainio. I work as a project manager in the Baltic Sea Action Group, and we are coming from Finland. And in this presentation, I will just shortly give you an overview of the regional meeting that we are organizing in Finland in 2023. Anyways, it's going to be the first Northern Europe 4/mill regional meeting, and maybe I can introduce it shortly that the Northern Europe in this sense. Now, we don't mean just Nordic collaboration. We, of course, in Finland, for example, we already have strong collaboration with Sweden, but in this case, we wanted to expand the area to cover even larger area than just the Nordic countries. So now we are aiming to have like the whole Northern Europe, let's say from Switzerland towards the north. So also Scotland and Great Britain and Ireland are included in this. Or we hope to have many participants in the whole Northern Europe in this meeting. And it's going to be in 1.5 years. So still know my slides. Anyway, the name of the meeting will be More Carbon in the Soil for Multiple Benefits. And as probably you already all here know, that we are really emphasizing here the healthy soils and the soils, the importance of soils as carbon storages to mitigate climate change. So this is the background of this meeting. And what we are going to have there is high-level talks, panel discussions, and poster sessions, success story videos. And also there are going to be field trips. So this is going to be 2 days event in like a regular meeting event, or one full day and one afternoon. And then the third day will be only dedicated to field trips. And what is going to be happening in this event, I have already covered pretty much. And then the scientific themes of this event will be healthy soils, climate, biodiversity, and waters. So we will really focus on the multi-beneficial aspect of this, not only to mitigate climate change, but also to work to increase the biodiversity and water, protecting water bodies. Then this monitoring, reporting, and verification, which is also very important in the 4 per mil initiative. This is going to be one of the main topics in this meeting. Also peatlands as a special case. As we know, peatland agricultural soils are very different from mineral soils. So this will be covered by a special subsession. And when and where this all is going to happen, so we already have a dates for this. It was in the previous slides, but no worries. It's going to be from 6th to 8th of June in 2023 in Helsinki, Finland. And then the next slide, please. So how to join the event? This meeting, I already mentioned the countries that this is targeted to. You can also see them from the meeting website. And this really aims to bring together all the different stakeholders, so to increase and enlighten the interaction and collaboration around this topic. And while we, of course, warmly welcome researchers, we also really anticipate other stakeholder groups as interested farmers, companies, NGOs, and also the decision makers to come to this meeting. Now the webpage of this meeting has just been officially opened and launched, so you can find more information through that webpage now, and then also more information coming later. And if you want to support this event, or if you have some ideas, anyone in the audience, like maybe organize some side webinars, or you immediately have some idea how you would like to collaborate with us, then you can just contact me and we will work on that together. Okay, thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Eliza. That was really inspiring to learn about this initiative. We really look forward to seeing it take shape. And thank you also for your patience during the technical issues we were experiencing. So I believe Paul wanted to bounce off of that a little bit and add a comment in relation to
just a very small comment about the fact that I would like to thank very much Baltic Sea Action group for this idea, because it's their idea. And we jump with enthusiasm in your project. You were the first, you arrived with funding from the Finnish Ministry of Agriculture. You said that you find some other sponsor, and we were ready to put also some money on our budget on that. I think it's a very good example of what we can do, and to organize regional meeting, and it is very important because we need that scale for implementation and to exchange at the level of the 4 per Mille initiative. Thank you again, and I thank you also to come to present this project and present also all you are doing, because you are doing a lot, Laura and Elisa. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we will have all the funders on the web page. And of course, if you want to join the funders, well, don't forget the 4 per Mille initiative also. Thank you. Thank you again. Yes, we will, and we'll have a link also from our website, of course.
Thank you very much. This certainly sounds like a great collaboration and a precious partnership. Thank you. Wonderful. So next off, we will hear from Marc Bernard once again about the perspective of the official launch of the Twin Regions project. So very much looking forward to hearing more about it. We had questions about it before, so yeah, excited to dive in deeper into this topic. Thank you, Marc.
I have made a presentation this morning. I think that most people actually attended my presentation this morning. So since this is more kind of an announcement session, I have made it shorter. Yes. Before I start, I really appreciate the interventions of John and Barbara. And I'm happy to say that with the strengthening of the team at BLE, I will dedicate more time to improve the linkage between southern countries and the industrialized nations. So that's a bit, and this is why I'm also engaging in this Twin Regions so much. And thanks for John, because he was one of the persons that provided very valid inputs to the development of the concept in the run-up to this meetings. Were about 10 people working on it. So what I'm presenting is actually including a lot of the information that or questions and it's and from the network. So before I go to Finland, higher. I remember very well. I just want to make a small skip to your stand on the. I really appreciated the meeting I had with you during the fair. So if somebody's interested in what Finland and others are doing, it's very interesting. Yes, go and have a look at it, so you can already find out a bit what you're going to see in Finland. So I just wanted to take advantage of this opportunity and say, listen, this is really a great team. Now let me go to my presentation. Next steps. So it is my region, your region. Let's come together, solve the climate crisis right now. The Twin Regions Action, that's what I call it, because it's not really a project. It's more kind of a methodology or something. Do we have a problem again with my sharing?
Not sharing presentation.
I always have this. I'm sorry about it.
We should automate a little message.
I will do something different again. I'm sorry about it.
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
I wanted to show the stand of our Norwegian colleagues, of our Finnish colleagues. So anyway, my region, your region, let's come together and solve the climate crisis right now. That is the slogan of it. The Twin Regions Action next steps that I'm presenting now, it is really a framework, and it is not really something that is owned by anybody. It's a public good, and I hope that this concept will actually be adopted by a number of different initiatives. Yes, not just COP per Mille. So what COP per Mille is doing is really providing support to make it known. And I was very happy to hear this morning the three of the high level panel mentioned twin regions. So COP per mil is really doing a great job in promoting this to top levels. That gives a lot of support. Now, the position in COP per mil, I showed this already this morning. I'm very much, so it is very much at the level of the beneficiaries. And I think it's exactly what John and Barbara are saying. The big potentials are in Africa, or Africa is one of the big potentials. We also have a big potential in Central Asia, northern part, but also in Latin America and Asia. But surely Europe is not the place, or Central Europe is not the place where we can make big gains in terms of sequestering carbon, just because of the size of it. So I'm very much looking forward. In 2 weeks' time, I will go and join one of the communities in the south and try to set it up over there. So what we want to do with COP per mil is we want to make sure that the system is adopted in 20 countries by 2030 and 50 countries, and in 2050 in all countries of the world. That's very ambitious, but it's also, we are under pressure, we have to move. Again, Twin Regions Action takes a holistic and inclusive approach and is open to partner with organizations, network, and initiatives and programs in other thematic areas and in all regions of the world. Please visit, I will post the, can I send it somewhere to everybody? No, okay, alle, yes, okay. We'll post the message, the link in the chat. Please go and visit and register. So I have your name that you're interested in the project, and we can target you. Otherwise, I have to continue to send it to everybody, and I'm aware that some people are interested, so others are not. So please register so we know who is really interested in the concept. Now to continue. Yes, so I just skipped to the problem that Twin Regions is addressing. Yes, the problem really is that we have this contrast between regions that emit a lot of CO2 and regions that have a big potential. And very often the regions that have the resources, the financial resources, they don't have the ecological potential to do, to contribute a lot. And carbon sequestration in Germany is extremely expensive. Yes, because if you want to plant 10 trees in my village where I live, you have to buy the land, which costs a fortune. Yes, so it's very difficult actually to sequester carbon in organic, with agricultural forestry, because it's already all planted and most of the land is actually owned and has high value. In Africa, the situation is different. So the two regions are really very complementary in terms of ecological resources and financial resources. And this is the whole idea of the Twin Regions, to bring these regions together and so they can share and invest their ecological and financial resources to solve this climate issue. None of the two can do it on its own. To give you an idea, the 195 gigatons that Europe has emitted since 1960, that is an equivalent of, if you say 100 euros, it's about the GDP, the entire GDP of Europe for 1 year that we have to invest to sequester that amount of this quantity of carbon, provided we find the space to do it. Yes, but we're talking about very big amounts of money. It would be $19.5 trillion that we have to invest. Twin Regions consist of two opposite places that come together to overcome their mutual environmental and economic and social constraints by using their complementary skills and resources. And I stress the skills because we can also learn a lot from each other. And I think where the southern countries have a big advantage, they're much better in community development, especially in managing conflicts at the local level. They have expertise from which we could learn a lot in our more individualistic societies. And I think it's something we really need in the future as well. So don't only look at technologies, look also at social skills, very important. But on the contrary, skills up north can be very useful, for example, to benefit from carbon compensation schemes, because you need some literacy, you need some ITC, you need the skill to work with computers. So if the two communities work together, they can also solve more complex issues because they will just have their skill sets enlarged. So typically, a twin region is composed of a place in a region with low living standards and low emissions, but high ecological potential to sequester carbon. That is a so-called CO2 sink region, and teams up with a place in a region with a high living standards and high emissions, but low ecological potential to sequester carbon, which is a CO2 source region. So, and they merge together and they say, listen, let's try and pool our resources and skills to become carbon neutral by 2035. And then from then on, try to work down the historic carbon debt and to establish a system of environmental stewardship and global equality. Now, in the Mesogeneric twin regions, I showed this image already this morning. So to the right, you see Alfta, where I'm living. So lots of streets and buildings, and everything is planned up down to the square meter. And to the left, we have Copago, much bigger, of course. Copago is about 30 times bigger in size than Alfta, and has a much more favorable tropical climate than we have. So you have a longer growing season. So there's a big potential of sequestering more carbon over there. So working together really has a potential to draw down carbon from the atmosphere. Now, how are regions merged? Now it is, again, for Barbara, she was asking for carbon markets. We will establish carbon market between the two communities. So it will be a relatively small market, but the advantage is that we will have less transaction costs. And there's more flexibility because it's the trust between the two communities that will decide on the deal. So it is not a fixed scheme. It is something that can be negotiated at the local level. And you can develop partnerships like we have it with town partnerships. You imagine we have many of these partnership towns. So that is a nice setting where just people get to know each other and can build trust, which substitutes to some extent for the cost that you have in anonymous MRV schemes. So I think it's quite interesting. I'm looking forward in engaging into this. It's all new, and I really invite other people to come in and to invest their creativity to think about solutions that work at a local scale where people know each other. So one thing I will do when I'm in Benin, I will set up a webcam so people can look at my place every day here in Alfta. So they get a bit familiar with the situation in another setting of the world and see how they can collaborate. So I'm really looking forward to that and see a bit if this, having a nice experience, getting this exchange between two communities going in very distinct places of the globe. So the CO2 sink regions, they need to develop, of course, a credible offer. It means not just saying how much they are tend, but how they're going to prove it, that they really have drawn down carbon. And up north, of course, they have to say, listen, how much carbon do we emit? So they need a very good carbon accounting system. And also a way of sharing costs between rich people and poor people here in Alfta. So that also becomes quite a challenge, but I think these are important questions that must be addressed. And I think Twin Regions is a nice frame. It will start up slowly, but it might be a nice example for bigger schemes going then at regional and more kind of national levels. The price is a matter of supply and demand. Currently, I think it will be $50 to $150 per ton. I would have to pay here as an Alfta, I would probably have to pay something like $1,250 per year to compensate for my carbon footprint. We in Germany have a high footprint of about 12 tons per year in person. So that is about the equivalent I would have to pay, which is, seeing that our GDP is about 46,000, quite a reasonable amount. It's not too much. So market forces, of course, the price will change. The more, yes, you will have changes over time and over different areas. So marketplace forces will help to ensure that emissions in general demand for sequestration decreases, people will start to be more prudent in emitting. So they will try to limit their emissions, so they have to pay less. And on the other side, on the offer side, people will become smarter in sequestering carbon and competing amongst each other for offering cheaper rates for sequestering carbon. So that is really, we want this market force to develop. And at regional authority, we'll set the rules to monitor the markets and to ensure development goals are met. It's not just about carbon, it is also about biodiversity, livelihoods, income. So there's many things that have to be thought of. Now, to get this going, we make this call, which I'm launching now. So please go to that link that I posted in the chat room. Just go type in twinregions.org and you will get there. You will find a page with an extended presentation and a form where you can register your name and what you're interested in. This will be followed by a social media campaign, which I'm doing here with young people who will take over of this. So quite young people, more in the music business and others. And we're going to push that one to make it really big. And we're really also trying to get a bit into mainstream media with that. So I'm looking forward to pushing that. I'm not in charge of that. So that's a team of young people here in Germany who are trying to get this going. After COP26, AFRES, together with CAPROMIL, we will organize a series of virtual workshops. So people that have registered and said, listen, we're interested to raise critical questions and have virtual meetings for exchange of ideas and planning of startup activities, please come to it. I know from the fair, we had very good meetings of 1 hour where we really could exchange, 2 or 3 people meeting and discussing seriously about some of these questions. And then at present, it's all voluntary support, of course, at the moment. AFRES is investing quite a lot in the website and the concept development. So that is going fine. But we aim really to have Twin Regions startup activities going in all 5 regions of the CAPROMIL initiatives by the end of 2020. Yes, so please register. More information I will post. We will have a Facebook, we'll have a LinkedIn, and we will have an Instagram account and a website. And of course, there's the possibility that everybody joining Twin Regions, the logo of that partner then will appear on the page at the bottom, just to honor the people that are investing into this scheme. And especially, it's open. Okay, thank you.
Were there any questions? I know, John, you had some interrogations a little bit earlier on today. I don't know if you are still wondering the same questions following this presentation, or if you want to ask them again. Yeah?
Yes.
Thanks, Samuel.
Okay, thank you, Mark. First of all, my concern was that since I came to learn that the Twin Regions, before it was launched, I started publishing it. And I was asking whether I did something which was not permitted, because I don't want to do something out of order. That is one. 2, I would request the member of 4 per 1,000, that especially people from developing countries, or especially Africa, if we can run it with 4 per 1,000 initiative, I think it will become more effective, more than how it has been. Then, in addition, that we are requesting to see to it that soil, sorry, I've been speaking soil, I love soil because I eat, I feel it, and I love it so much, that soil has not been brought up on top agenda to be one of the. Okay, we are talking. It's a think tank, but that is business as usual. But it can be used as a mitigative measure to really to be put we put trees, forest, and so forth. Therefore, we would like a technology. I think that technology must be here. You can advise me because you here you are all specialists. There are some technologies whereby it can measure the carbon which has been sink, which has been, I mean, as a sink tank, that carbon, I think it must be there, that technology. As we measure the tree, how the tree has absorbed or has taken up the emission which has been absorbed by trees or forests. But I think even the technology which can do that is there. Therefore, we would like to assist us so that you help our fellow brothers and sisters who are dying. They are depending on the soil, but the soil is getting depleted day and night. And that is, as I am concluding, in our community, we started it now, it is about 15 years. But when you come to our community, it is not a big community. We have made it a forest, the crops are good, and whereas it was like empty like this. Therefore, such people need even to be also rewarded. I think through 4 per 1,000 and the twin regions, those people can get away how they can be rewarded. Because people have been asking me, why are you telling us to do this and that? What do we benefit? But whatever they are doing, although it is done in Africa. But
I'm sorry, John, I don't mean to cut you off, but our time is running out. So I'm wondering if you could wrap up.
Okay, now I am concluding by requesting, this is a request that before I leave Glasgow, I want people to join me to become a sister, because I don't want to leave Glasgow before I get a partner, so that we can go and work together. I have started negotiating, and I want some of you to join me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, that was a great request, duly noted. So we hope you will find a sister or brother or partner before you leave. Yes, Jean-François, please.
Yes, thank you. And I'm really sympathetic with your request. That my point, Mark, is slightly different. It's just to underline that, strictly speaking, you cannot really say this will be compensation, because, well, for the European Union, there is no possibility to compensate our emissions internationally. This is the way it is negotiated in the current agreements. So strictly speaking, I don't think that you could say this is compensating emissions. However, it is certainly international cooperation and certainly very useful. Thank you.
Thank you. And Barbara, you had a question as well? Well, Jean-François, if you could please pass the microphone. Thank you.
Hi, just a quick statement. I did like the Twin Regions statement at the end, where Mark is talking about using social media platforms. I think one of the things I'm a bit concerned about, especially working with farmers, is that I find that people are aging out of farming. We're going to have a generation gap in the future. When I look at the participation here of 4 per 1,000, I think I'm like one of the youngest attendants, but we need younger to kind of take over for future generations. So I do love the fact that the Twin Regions program is using social media and music and a variety of platforms, because I always talk to people about how some of the small scale farmers I'm working with have aged out, and we need to bring the next generation of farmers into the fold, into the picture. We need to make farming cool again, for young people to be able to look at farming as a viable industry. It's a potential job that they can get into, that they can make money, that they can enjoy doing and being part of the world. So, you know, we need to look at the next generation of farmers, and not only that, also 4.1000 needs to look at the next generation that will carry this on. And I do believe, Paul, I know there are budgetary conversations and ending of, but I always believe that where there's a will, there's a way. So do not look at potential closure. There's a future for 4.1000, and I guarantee it, and we need to look at the next generation. Thank you.
Okay.
Barbara. Sure, Farshad, very quickly, please. We'll take your comment. Oh, it's very long. We're going a little bit over time.
Should I answer the three questions?
Sorry,
should I give a small answer before we continue with questions? Because otherwise it's getting too many.
Give a quick answer. That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah, a quick answer, yes. John and Barbara, I combine you. Young people, I couldn't show today the full concept. It's about 40 slides. You find it on the webpage, and you will see that there's a big section on youth involvement. Yes, so please have a look at it. And I'm very much aware that the youth, especially in Africa, and I've been employing many youth in Africa. So we had a big campaign in Benin where we employed 500 young people, and they're still living in the villages. So it's really something I was specialized in before my time that I came back to Germany. Now, about the compensation schemes, Jean-Francois, I fully agree that the legal framework is not there. The legal framework which is there today, and the contractual framework that needs to support such an action, such a similar framework is there to get debt of developing countries paying interest rates to private company, basically earning money for doing nothing. This is possible today because of the treaties that we have between our nations. And I think the changes that we have to make to our economy and a global economy are way beyond. I think we will make them because the pressure will mount. We have to respect the physical and the natural limits. So I'm quite positive that especially if you try to do something which appears to be impossible at the present setting, it will build up the pressure to put to change the settings. We need to change them. So I very sympathize with people that just say, listen, the system we're operating now is ruining us. So we need to build up pressure. And I think twin regions can set maybe a signal and say, listen, this can only be possible if the adequate legal and financial framework is there. So we have to go to pressure for it. Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
That was just okay. Good.
Great. No, thank you for this brief answer. Thank you everybody for your questions and statements. We're certainly taking in all of your input and perspectives. So much appreciated.
Let me start just mentioning that what we do with this perspective, this vision we have of an international research consortium on soil carbon is supported by the European Commission through research goals. And one thing I wanted to mention to you is that there is really a perspective now from the European Union to restore soil health over 70% of the European territory. Next slide, thanks. Yeah, excellent. Maybe have it full screen if you may. So you see, we have currently in Europe challenges because something between 60 and 70% of the European soils are being degraded from a range of causes, including the overuse of nutrients, creating impacts on water, biodiversity, including also the desertification, which hits hard in Southern Europe, Eastern Europe. And we also have a large cost, which were estimated recently at 50 billion euro per year, just from land degradation in Europe. So obviously there are opportunities to restore and protect soils, and this is well aligned with European Green Deal ambitions. It is also obviously well aligned, as we all know, with the Sustainable Development Goals. Next slide. I'd just like to emphasize that in the mission board that helped the Commission delineating what would be the mission, which is now called the Soil Deal Mission, we could introduce a target which is about conserving the soil organic stocks where they are initially high, like in the forests, in the pastures, in the wetlands, but increasing carbon stocks when they are initially low, like on arable land. And we did use the 0.4% target, which is a 4 per thousand aspirational target, as a sort of increase rates that we would like to see. But some countries asked that we also give a range. So we had to say between 0.1 and 0.4% per year. This was a bit negotiated, I should say. And in the same way, we would like to see that the area of peatlands that are being drained and therefore lose carbon is strongly reduced. Here again, it was negotiated, so it is by 30 to 50%. So this is really a broad perspective for the European Union, and we hope it will happen. Next slide, please. And with that vision, we could also say that it's not enough to act in Europe, we need to act internationally. And this is also with the CIRCASA projects that I've already presented sometimes to you, which was about coordinating international research cooperation on soil carbon sequestration in agriculture. Next slide. So this project has ended. It was supported by the Horizon 2020 program. We worked extensively with stakeholders in more than 10 world regions. And we worked also with the international scientific community, and we could define 4 pillars for the International Research Consortium. One is about frontiers research, could be supported by international research goals. The second is about the MRV. We heard so much about the need for this, and we would like to support it with innovation projects. Actually, I will explain it a bit further to you. We want to create an international standard. We also see the need for innovation projects on agroecological and technological innovations and to co-design the options with users, and that's knowledge co-creation. You can help with collaborative platforms. Next slide. That's very briefly the vision we had in CIRCASA for this consortium, where we bring together research, private sector, public sector, with the research agencies, but also for Earth observation, the space agencies, for instance, and certainly the various partnerships and international initiatives. And I'm glad to say that 4 per thousand was quite active in the CIRCASA project, and certainly we also expect a contribution of 4 per thousand in the next project, which is called ORCASA. So you see here that there are several activities like governance, coordination, capacity building, and shared collaborative knowledge. Next slide. So now we are moving to the next project. Also, it is still a proposal. We submitted that proposal, and hopefully it may start in February or April next year. So moving to the ORCASA project, which is operationalizing the international research cooperation on soil carbon. So we were asked to expand from agricultural soils to most land use types. So including this time other ecosystems like the forest, like the urban land use. And we therefore will revise the strategic agenda to expand it. And we will also have several activities in place with the launch of the International Research Consortium. So you see the timeline shifting from CIRCASA to ORCASA. Next slide. We have work packages, obviously, in that project with the stakeholder engagement, the outreach, but also establishing the International Research Consortium, expanding the strategic agenda, the research agenda, I should say, creating an expanded knowledge platform compared to what we have currently, and implementing the strategic agenda through the International Research Consortium with its own governance. And expanding also the harmonized monitoring, reporting, verification framework. So the idea is that in the governance, we will invite numerous colleagues to be part of the effort, be it from the academia, be it from the private sector, from the research space agencies, environment agencies, and so on. So we obviously will work with others internationally, like the Global Research Alliance on Agricultural Greenhouse Gases, like a Global Soil Partnership, like 4,000, and still a few others. Next slide. Oh, next. Thank you. This is our vision. I don't have time to detail it, but we published a vision on how we see the next generation monitoring, reporting, verification. Actually, it's a combination of all sources of data, including the Earth observation, including the soil data, including the climate data, including the agricultural practices data. The big challenge we have, we should underline this, is to detect a change in soil organic carbon stock by approximately 1% over 3 to 5 years. Remember, we are talking about an aspirational target of 0.4% per year. So obviously, even if you were to reach that target, after 5 years, you are still with this 2%. And detecting 2% is difficult. So our method, and we've been testing this in Europe in a few countries, and it's working, is to calculate the balance sheet between all carbon that goes in and all carbon that goes out. And in this way, we can calculate something which is fairly accurate. Next slide. So I don't have time to detail this, but you will get the slide. We will advance at a range of scales from the farm level to the country level and to the regional level. And combining, as I said, the indirect data that you get to understand the balance of what goes in and what goes out, and improving, obviously, the soil monitoring, which is still the basis for the validation of the carbon stocks, and also for testing the models and testing the remote sensing. Next slide. And the last slide here is just to tell you that we will extend a knowledge platform with different components. And in that knowledge platform, we will get all the data sources that are already there, but they will be combined and harvested. And obviously, the International Research Consortium will generate other data that will be readily usable. We took attention in the consortium to bring in some partners that are highly experienced with data visualization and can really create a wealth of understanding out of such rather complex data sets. So thank you. I think that's the last slide. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's very exciting to learn about this initiative. So were there any questions for Dr. Susanna about his presentation? Yes, please. I'll just come with the microphone.
Thank you very much for the presentation. It was really interesting. I'm Lisa Newman from the Federal Ministry for Food and Agriculture in Germany. And there were some thoughts I had during the presentation. For example, you mentioned a collaboration with other international researchers. Could you maybe elaborate on that more? And there are some initiatives that I know of, or for example, in my mind, there was the FAO doing something in the direction of a ABC hub that is also intending to map carbon around the world. For example, do you have a collaboration interest there? Yes, and also the FAO, as I know, has a knowledge hub that actually we funded, so a bit of advertising here, which is preparing the knowledge for all levels from scientists to farmers. So yeah, you talked about a platform and things like that. Are you intending to do something similar? Do you want to use synergies? That was my question. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the question. So certainly we have extended collaboration in the international scientific community. With Circasa, we had teams from, well, we had 23 partners from 16 countries from the 5 continents, including China, Russia, Australia, New Zealand, America, USA, including Africa for sure, Latin America, Brazil, and so on. So you know, it's really extensive, and we can build on that strength, but expand it to the non-agricultural ecosystem, which is very important also to preserve the high stocks. Now, you're right. Are we redundant compared to other efforts? It's a very important question indeed. The first thing is that we have invited GSP and we collaborated with GSP. So that's for sure. The second thing is that, for instance, the guidelines that GSP produced, which are really helpful and that we revised also with the STC, with our project CIRCASA, please be aware there are guidelines to measure a carbon stock. They are not, strictly speaking, guidelines to detect a stock change. And the problem is that we are talking about stock changes by, say, 1%, and it's not going to be feasible in farmers' conditions to core soils with enough samples. I'm talking about at least 100 samples if you get 1% accuracy, and enough precision in the way you core, you sample and everything to detect the change. So the problem is that there's no chance we can achieve the goals of 4 per thousand just by direct coring, which is in fact what the FAO protocol is about. So this is why we are engaged with the international scientific community in developing the next generation. It is also part of other projects in Europe, like the NIVA project, which is contributing to the new tools for the monitoring of the CAP. And I think it's going in the right direction, and we get a lot of interest from other teams also in US and elsewhere. Yeah, that's what I can say. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. All right. Well, so this concludes our day together. So yeah, what an amazing day. I feel really inspired and energized by the rich discussions that were had. It's always so wonderful to hear from diverse stakeholders from different perspectives, different colleges as well, and from around the world. And I think it's also great to, take stock of everything that was achieved in the last year, to really be informed about, the past achievements and initiatives of the 4 per thousand, and also be aligned on what the next steps are, the future roadmap. And yeah, we also learned about the financial situation of the initiative. I think it's really important for us all to be aware of some of these challenges. I think, it's really impressive and reassuring to see, everything that's been achieved so far with limited resources. But, we did get a question on, does this pose any risk of the initiative, not existing in the future if funding still remains challenging? And the answer was yes, this is definitely a risk. So, I would call upon all of us to think about, any future avenues for funding, and certainly please do not hesitate to come forward with any potential opportunities for funding, because any help is welcome, any help will contribute. But that being said, yes, thank you all so much for joining, and we really appreciated everyone's contribution and input. It's very, very important to hear your perspectives, because this is what makes the 4 per thousand initiative be able to respond to the needs, to the very diverse needs of our community. So thank you very much for contributing and participating actively, both in person and on Zoom. Special thank you, of course, to the Executive Secretariat of the initiative for your very impressive and important work. It's really humbling to see all you're able to accomplish, and including this very day and organizing all of these magnificent and impressive speeches we heard from this morning, and synchronizing all of this. So thank you. Paul and Beatrice and Juliet, who's present with us as well, and Mark, who's online. Thank you, Oliver, for managing the technique, as well as Beatrice, of course, but we really appreciate, Oliver, your input today. Thank you to the Scientific and Technical Committee. I know you had important meetings also in the last few days. Thank you for all the great work accomplished in the last few years. We really need to rely on your expertise and knowledge. So thank you for your input. And thank you, last but not least, to our magnificent translators who have been online with us all day. Thank you, Peter and Raymond. It's great to see you here virtually as well. Yeah, that's a day that started very early for translators in North America. All that to say, without further ado, I think we can conclude with this day. Again, thank you so much. And now we will pursue with the cocktails. You're most welcome to join us for a little drink, a little refreshment, and some bites to eat as well. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.